Hello, I'm Carol Esser, and I'm one of the Master Food Volunteers with Kansas State Extension. And today we're going to be making a crustless salmon quiche. And this is a recipe that you could make for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's also something that once you have it made, it's really easy to microwave and reheat. And it's a recipe where you are using ingredients that may already be in your pantry. We're going to be incorporating some evaporated milk, a can of evaporated milk, and then we're going to use canned salmon. And canned salmon is a really good fish. And it's a very healthy fish, and so whenever you can incorporate it into a meal, it's a really good idea to be able to do that. And so to make this quiche, we start out with 4 eggs. We have our oven preheating already at 350. We're going to start out with 4 eggs, and we are going to whip those up until they're pretty light and fluffy. And then we will be adding in the canned salmon. And you could certainly use a mixer for this if you wanted to. I don't, just because it seems as though the ingredients get whipped up pretty thoroughly. Just with doing it, you can already see they're whipping pretty well. So you want to get this pretty frothy. And then you will add in your can of evaporated milk. And evaporated milk, make sure that you don't buy sweetened condensed, because that would make for a very horrible quiche if you happen to do that. But evaporated milk is kind of thick, and it gives it a really nice texture. So with this, we're going to be putting in a 1/4 of a teaspoon of dill. Dill works really well with seafood. And again, that's something you might well have in your pantry. We're also going to be putting in a 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. In addition to the spices, we will also be adding a 1/2 teaspoon of salt into this mixture. And then you will just want to stir it, make sure that it's well incorporated. Now, as I said, you're going to be using pantry ingredients, and so once you have your egg mixture made, you can start to look at putting things in your pan. And you want to spray this, because it's a crustless quiche, you want to spray it pretty well, because that way you will be able to get the wedges out. I opened the can of salmon and drained some of the water off. And I also picked some of the skin off, but there are bones in here, but they are perfectly edible, and you won't even know they're there when you get around to eating it. And so you want to put this in the bottom of your pan, and once you've crushed it a little bit, you spread it out. And so this will pretty much cover the bottom of this pan, and that's part of the thing that makes it easier for you to be able to get it out of the pan once it's cooked. Now with this, you are going to be able to add in any vegetables that you might have. So today I'm going to be using green onions, because I like the taste of onion, but sometimes onion to me is kind of heavy. So I've got about a 1/4 of a cup of green onions, and then I'm also going to be putting in a 1/4 of a cup of chopped spinach. In place, or rather a 1/2 of a cup, because the recipe calls for a 3/4 of a cup of chopped vegetables. So if you happen to have broccoli left over from dinner last night, or you have peppers and onions that you were using, those are things that you can just put in here, and then you'll be able to use it up. So the spinach I have chopped up a little bit, a rough chop. You could certainly make it into a julienne. If you're using baby spinach, you might just be able to put it in the pan. But I like to be able to have it be easy to cut, and that seems to be helpful when you are able to chop it. I have done the tops of the onions. We're going to save that for a garnish for later. Now you also are going to put in some shredded cheese, and the recipe calls for a cup of the shredded cheese. You will top 3/4 of it on this at this point. Just put it around, and then you're going to save the last 1/4 of a cup, and you can just kind of eyeball it. It's not really, doesn't need to be exact, as with most quiches, they don't need to be exact. And then you want to just fluff this mixture again, gently pour it over, and you want to kind of go around the edges to make sure that it goes into all the little nooks and crannies, because you want it to be incorporated pretty well. And this is going to pretty much fill up this pie pan. And this is a 9-inch pie pan. And then you will top it with the remaining cheese. And again, you could use a different kind of cheese if you were in the mood for pepper jack or Swiss or any sort of cheese that will melt. It would be good. So we are going to put this in a 350-degree oven, and it's going to take about 30 to 40 minutes. And what we're going to look for is 160 degrees on the meat thermometer. The salmon quiche has come out of the oven, and you can see it's a beautiful brown color. And I have let it cool for just a few minutes, because sometimes if you do it when it's too hot, it will just fall apart. So I'm going to cut a slice so you can see what it looks like. And again, remember that you can use any vegetables that you have that are left over. And so even though it doesn't have a crust, you can see that it forms a wedge. Again, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, wonderful.